How you doing, honeys? Today we're going to talk about the Game of Thrones. You know, if we would study back on history, I told you when I first started studying scripture, I was involved in a computer class back in the early 80s. Nobody had computers then, but I was in a class at a college nearby, a junior college. And while I was there, I was already in the study of scripture, and I wanted a computer to help me, you know, add up everything I was learning about, because I was doing it all by hand. But anyway, while I was at the library, or not at the library, going to that college for that course, uh, I, I would go to their library, and at the time I was studying all the religions in the world. And oh, I had so many books over there to help me, and it was just really exciting. I wanted to know why everybody believed what they believed in the whole world. So I was studying every religion there was, all the Protestant religions and the Catholicism and Buddhism and the Quran. I read the whole Quran. Oh my gosh, it's a big book with little teeny print. But anyway, I was involved in everything. But what I'm talking to you today about is it led me to history of not only the religious history of everybody, but the history of the Babylon church. Uh, it's been, the Babylon has been murdering good people since the Messiah came here and left. I mean, since those days, every one of the disciples except John were tortured and murdered for what they believed, and it's been going on like the Middle Ages and the Crusades. That's what it all was involved in. It was people who believed in God and spirit and truth, and they believed God works within them and to help them develop good character. Okay, so anyway, I told you before to look up this book, and it's probably not going to be available too much longer because of the history it contains. But I'll tell you again, Fox's, Fox apostrophe S, Book of Martyrs, Martyers. This is one of the most read books back in the 16, 17, 1800s, after printing was invented in the 1500s. And this is, other than the Bible, this is one of the most read books, was Fox's Book of Martyrs, because it contained the diaries of everybody listing these horrible deaths clear back to the disciples. It even lists the days they died and how they died. So this book is really worth looking into. But what I'm going to tell you is, when I watched the Game of Thrones, the only I'd never seen it before. I heard a president mention he couldn't wait to hear the next episode. A couple years ago, I heard him say he couldn't wait to go home and listen to it with his daughters or watch it and whatever. And I thought, well, what president would be interested in such a series, you know, on TV? Why would he be so enthralled with it? Well, anyway, before it came on, I heard that billions around the world were going to watch it. So I thought, well, all right, I hate movies. I mean, I'm lucky if I last 10 minutes, usually 5. But I thought, all right, I'm going to tune in and see just what everybody's tuning into. Well, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing in this movie, that billions were going to watch, with their children yet. But I've seen this book. I would say that it was taken right out of the script was written out of the Fox's Book of Martyrs. Either that or the people writing the book are so connected to hell that this is all the kind of stuff they think about and do. That's what I think the writers are, and the directors and the actors. I mean, wickedness portrayed from the beginning of that series to the end of it. And if you go back on history, true history shows that we left England to escape persecution and slavery, religious slavery and persecution. And people came to America, like the Puritans, the Quakers. They were called quietists. Quiet because everything was between them and God. It was an interior religion. And they came here so they didn't have to bow down to the Babylonian religion. Well, it looks like Babylon followed us to America because we've been, well, anyway, Babylon followed us to America, the Babylon religion. They were on it. But anyway, I was talking how the Game of Thrones was, you might say it was scripted out of Fox's Book of Martyrs. You never heard of such tortures in your life as in that book. And is that what we want people to, is this the kind of government that we're headed to, where off with your heads? And why is it the government bought, let me see, someone said a couple years ago that the government, which I call evil with a capital D, supposedly purchased 30,000 guillotines for here in the United States. Are they programming us for the future? I mean, come on, we need to think of that. These people are callous. They don't care anything about us. You know, when I was a kid, it says everything you've ever heard on the news, believe the opposite. Well, you know, that's about as true as, that's one truth I believe, and I'm almost 80. But whatever they say on the news is nonsense. What they show you in this kind of series and in our movies is what's going on. I mean, it even said about reopening the fighting pits in the movie. What is this? Are we going back to the gladiators where people are forced to fight to the death like in Rome? And I want to tell you another thing. The screeching and the cries and the screams of terror and torture in this movie, I'll tell you what, they sounded too real to me. And I know what these people do in their real life and their real rituals. You know, I've got a little knowledge in what they do behind the scenes in secret. And they worship this god that's called the light bringer. Well, that's Lucifer. He's supposed to, in the movie they even called him the god of the night terrors. But anyway, these screams were blood-curdling. They were screams of agony, and they just sounded like they could have been real people and dubbed in. I don't know how anybody could have those kind of screams if it wasn't really happening to them. Let's see, they even had a black and white door on a castle front, and they sent people collars to put around their necks, some kind of symbolism in that, and they brought other people into the country to maim and murder, so they didn't have to use their own. But I mean, they're not they're gladiators, but they're soldiers. They were all armored, just like today's policemen. And today's, well, I don't know about the military, but I'm sure they go in armored. But those knights of old wore head-to-toe coverings just like today. I mean, scary-looking things. And anyway, the knights, we've known quite a few people that have been knighted by the Queen, you know, and that's for doing some kind of service that really made her happy, or him, or whom, I don't know. him, who, whatever. But supposedly, oh my, do I have a little ducky out there? I guess I do somewhere out there.